to the intro, the start of the race, the broadcast, officially the start of the broadcast, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, right now just getting the stream sorted, getting everyone into the lobby, and should not be too long at all until we get going. So if you are watching live, come in, have a chat, go get yourself a cup of tea, a glass of water, whatever it might be, to get yourself through this race. I think we've got a full grid in store for us tonight, so it's definitely going to be a good one. So make sure you stick around all the way through this evening. I'll be talking you through myself, as always. If you don't know me, obviously you may be new to APPF1. I am, of course, Zach Sweeney, and I think we're getting a couple of people now coming into the stream. Welcome in, everyone. Absolute pleasure to have you in. Super stoked about today. Of course, I missed last week. Unfortunately, I had some maths homework I had to catch up on, and well, with the first week back, I did not particularly want to not have any homework done, and probably should have left it a little bit earlier. But you know, we ignore that. And yeah, with everyone going back, we've got Kieran in, we've got Max, two Maxes in, we've got Ben Finch in. Oh yeah, Ben's racing tonight, isn't he? Of course. His first race without ABS, he's going to be trying to do as well as best he can. Of course, we've got two of the RRL guys in, Ben Finch and Koru, coming over. They've seen how good APPF1 is and wanted a taste of the action. So, both of them, Ben Finch back in the Williams, of course. Max Barwick, his first race in Tier 1. Going to be a big learning curve for him. And of course, it's definitely a high caliber list of drivers. Of course, Rick, Paus, Koru, Taylor Hammers as well is in. So a lot of people. MX leading the championship, Ghost, champion, and always up there in the order. Davila on his day, definitely very good. Vardy, again, when he can hook it up, and especially on the 2020 game, always one to look out for. Suma, when he can hook it up, is always one of the best, if not the best. Aces has just been an absolute different run of form. He's been a different breed compared to everyone else, and of course Ben Finch himself very quick. So too Koru and Taylor. All drivers that can boast very high accolades in their racing and their times and their consistency and their overall racecraft. Of course, the French circuit, Le Castellet, Paul Ricard is a very difficult, I guess, is the challenge. I guess it kind of is the word to use for this circuit. I mean, in terms of keeping it on the track, definitely the hardest part of it. You know, you really got to attack those curbs as best you can, but still try and keep it on the track and not extend. That's definitely one of the challenges. Of course, you almost get hallucinated with the amount of swells and stuff on the track. With the runoff, you obviously have the blue, less abrasive runoff, and then you have the red, which really grinds the tyres, bringing the car, of course, to a halt. It's very good safety feature, but definitely a weird one to look at. So yeah, Le Castellet, definitely, it's got the turn 1 and 2, one of the best corners, I think, to chuck it into for sure, on their own, exclusively. I think 1 and 2 are here at France are some pretty damn good corners. I mean, turn 1 especially, you brake so late, 5th gear, chuck it in to the left, get it over that curb, chuck it in for the right, and then of course you got the twisty and turny sector 1. Sector 2 is pretty much a chicane, and then another straight before you go to the right, complete flat out right. And then of course the long right hander, double apex. You go in straight, brake as soon as you're pretty much turning into the corner. Really got to use that engine braking. And then as you go down in towards the camber, and you bring it over to the right hand side, flick it in for a late apex, left hand corner, through the right hander in towards the penultimate, where you have to really again just chuck it in and try not to get those wheels onto the pit exit line or the pit entry line, where the stewards are definitely going to be taking a very close look at, just to make sure everyone does it safely, and of course there's going to be no incidents in the pit lane, because that's always what we want to see. MX in. Well, Koru and Ben seem confident. 1.5 seconds quicker on time trial they can boast compared to everyone else in the lobby. So I mean, they're confident, they're definitely confident, but again, time trial's 1 lap. You've got 18 minutes of short qualifying followed by 27 laps, and well, we do not talk of what happened when Ben last visited Paul Ricard in a league race, or at least the last time I commented on him. Certainly did not go well. No ABS for Ben, so he's getting excuses out early. Of course, the sun's also in his eyes, and he's getting slightly distracted by a couple of other factors. But other than that, he's going to be in tip-top shape and hoping to do as well as he can. Of course, apologies already if I do sound a little bit tired. It's been a very hectic week, a very busy week at school, trying to get everything sorted out. MX definitely coming in with a confidence, as always, very, very confident in himself. Thinking he can definitely take it to Corey. But we'll have to wait and see. Well, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to APPF1 Tier 1 Championship. You join me for round number 4 of what has already proven to be one of the most closest and enthralling seasons so far. Today we head to France and to Le Castellet for the French Grand Prix. While the swirly runoff of Paul Ricard may cause slight dizziness, in the sim racing world it can provide an insane piece of action. MX comfortably leading the way, however, with a unique point system. With only one gap between each position, Scott or Palps will be ready to pick up the scraps if anything goes wrong. As always, a massive thank you to our sponsor High Dive Apparel for bringing you the action this season. Well, you know the drill. 18 minutes on the clock for qualifying. It's all or nothing to set the grid. My name is Zach Sweeney. Welcome to APPF1, and let's get ourselves started. It's certainly looking to be good. Thank you, Aaron. Pleasure to have you in. Me and Ben is a 27.4 MX. Responding, well, didn't respond with his lap time, just responded with maybe a sort of disapproving emoji or slightly scared. Maybe you're in his head. We never know. Bit of rivalry going on the grid tonight between Corey, the RRL guys, and the very, very confident MX, who, of course, definitely can back up that confidence with his sheer pace. And he is definitely very quick over a lap, and arguably even consistently as well. 18 minutes on the clock then, or should I say 17 minutes and 20 seconds. A couple of drivers now heading their way on to the circuit, one of which being the championship leader of MX, chasing for his first title. It's his first championship contention in APPF1, and he's looking to go for his first championship win. Of course, he's had a really good run of form, really always been up there. Just missed out on the win in Austria. Singapore, I don't think things particularly went his way, and of course I wasn't here for Abu Dhabi, but he's definitely still doing enough to keep himself on top. Of course, as I said, the unique point system of APPF1 means that it keeps it so close, one position between each driver. And when it's that close, it keeps everything so tight that you cannot afford to have one race where you're off the throttle pedal, because as soon as you get complacent, as soon as you take a breather, you're definitely going to get swallowed up, and it only takes a few positions to decide a championship, as we saw last time out with the sprint guys in Season 3. So it can definitely swing both ways. You never know how it's going to plan out, but we're going to go on board with MX. The Alfa Romeo, as I say, leading the championship and already using up a quite hefty amount of ERS. Everyone on the soft compound tyres, bar 2 of Tier and Vardy heading out on the mediums, arguably either for their actual lap or just for a banker installment lap to get that time in, get themselves acclimatised to the circuit. Of course, you need a banker around Paul Ricard, because you cannot ride on that last lap, because anything can go wrong. The track limits here are absolutely brutal. And you have to be so careful now on board. With MX, we'll ride on board with them for the entirety of this lap. Setting up through the final corner then. DRS, that drag reduction system, giving him that extra 20 kph down this pit straight as he hurdles his way down towards turn 1, looking for the start of the final curb just before, and you chuck it in 5th gear. Really got to throw the car in almost flat, but you have to have a little bit of a confidence lift through turn 2, the little left king, keep the distance as short as you can, look for that 50 board down to 5th gear, really again, high speed corner through turn 3, turn 4, similar story, turn 5, wide entry, cut it in for a tight apex, and then through turn 6, really got to chuck it in, but try not to disrupt the weight of the car. Turn 7, pretty much flat out in quali spec, and no troubles whatsoever. DRS open as he heads down the Mulsanne straight and towards the chicane that separates it. Again, looking for that 100 board just after the start of this curve, down to 4th gear. Again, clobber that curve, and again for the second bit, right over that inside bit, just to shorten that gap a little bit. Keep the distance very, very short. Just minimise that steering angle and bring it over to the left-hand side. Again, really open up this really flat-out corner where you do not want to be on the inside of MX through here in towards the preceding right-hander. Again, chuck it in. You can see the commitment he has. Goes a little bit wide, doesn't invalidate, and that will set him up nicely to get a run through, but maybe a little bit too wide as he heads now in towards, again, this very late apex left-hand. You really got to get the car turned in late and straighten it out early. And then through the king into towards the penultimate corner. Keep those tyres on the track. Bring it to the left-hand side. Brake as soon as you're straight into the apex. Second gear. Try and open up the steering a little bit earlier than that. DRS open and across the line for MX. We know qualifying is in a strong suit, but as he comes across the line, it's a 29.227. I'm sure he's going to try and improve upon that on board with Vardy as he looks to set his first time as he goes across the line. A 30.333. Not at all a bad effort from the Brit, who has again been looking very, very good on form. Rick into P3, a 30.598 for him at the moment. Jackalacco a 29.481. A couple of tenths off MX as his teammate Sumo a 29.215. Only 12 1,000ths of a second between the two Alfa Romeo boys. And at the moment, it's Sumo that leads the way. Ghost coming in P3 at 29.310. Slightly off Palfs at 29.415. Incredibly close then at the front. As we're going to ride on board with Aces versus Kings. He's looking to start his first flying lap. P14 at the moment, but of course he hasn't yet to set a lap time. And well, with everyone trying to settle in, it's going to be interesting where Aces settles in. Of course, the Alpine car, that blue liveried, very nice looking car. The livery design is definitely doing a very good job of that. Goes purple to the first sector, does the Alpine, looking to impress on home turf. Of course, it's a British driver in a French car. Historically, well, with the two countries, I mean, that probably wouldn't go down too well, but I think of recent times it's not as big of a deal. Ace is very quick at Silverstone and seems to be pretty quick at Le Castellet. You can see that high rake setup. That car really pitched towards the front end to give them that nice volume of low pressure air underneath the car, sucking it to the floor. And that's a design that's been really popular in the 2021 season. You see teams like Red Bull and AlphaTauri really now coming to fruition and doing well because of that high rake setup. That seems to favour the cars this season as opposed to the low rake, longer wheelbases of the Mercedes, the McLaren, the Racing Points, or better yet, Aston Martins. But Aces so far been a pretty tidy lap as he comes through the penultimate corner. Third gear, can't really decide between third and fourth. Second gear, first gear, get that extra rotation, and then up the gears as you try and get that throttle pedal, that loud pedal down as quickly as you can. Now across the line, DRS open. I think he's going to be a 30.668. Not the best lap time from Aces. Then he's going to want to improve upon that. Probably has a lot more in the tank with Scott now out on the circuit. Man, second place in the championship. A man who doesn't particularly like this Formula 1 2021 game. Whether you do or don't, it's definitely a controversial topic at the moment. And with glitches and what we saw last night with the PSGL stream, it's definitely, things happen, of course. But I'm sure Cody's and EA and the Formula 1 game in general will try their best to get them sorted as quickly as possible. This is Tier trying to improve upon his time. Goes P11. With 7 tenths improvement, a 31.067 for the AlphaTauri, who, again, both AlphaTauri seem to be struggling, though both on the medium tyres, so cannot be doing too bad. Rick and Jackalacco, 7 and 8th. For McLaren, again, a good job from them. JM in P6. In the Ferrari, 29.463, incredibly close at the front. The top 8, well, the top 7 separated by just over 2 tenths of a second. So it is very, very close indeed. On board with Koru as he looks to start his lap. The Hash driver very much impressing us in Singapore, his debut in Singapore. And while the race didn't particularly go his way, he fought back like with maturity, with compassion, with courage, with determination to fight back to the front of the grid after a very, very impressive qualifying. Let's see if he can recreate that here in France. As he goes through the first sector of the tight and twisty, hooking up that curb really well. It really hooks that car around Of course, in the wet, you don't want to be anywhere near the curbs unless, again, you're using it for that same purpose. Purple to the first sector for Corey. But as I was saying, you can really get on those curbs. They really hook the car around, getting a nice little slipstream from his teammate Taylor Hammers there as he goes down the Mulsanne straight. Very nice of Taylor to give him that aid, and every little helps down the back straight, especially because you're not actually using too much straight line orientated setup. Of course, you need the downforce, you need both straight line speed and downforce, but it's more towards the downforce side of things, not so much to the likes of Singapore, Monaco, Hungary, Australia, but definitely not towards the side of Monza or place like that, sort of in the middle, sort of like Silverstone, France, and other places like that. You often see these sort of setups come into play in towards the very late. Apex left-hander does that pretty well despite being on the medium tyres in towards the penultimate corner. Showed everyone how it's done. Goes a little bit over the pit entry line, but I don't think that's going to be too bad. And the Stewards won't need to take a look at that over the curb on the inside, all the way to the exit. Try not to get over those sausage curbs. DRS open. Then as he heads his way down towards the start-finish line, and it's a 29.141 on medium compound tyres. Koru is absolutely flying out there today. Just under a 10th. Onto pole position. Of course, Sumo very, very close behind, but again, Corey's on the medium tyres, the slower tyres. If you're unsure, the soft compound tyres, those red ones that you see pretty much littering your screen on the left-hand side there, they are the quickest, the grippiest tyres that over one lap will be absolutely incredible. They get into a nice temperature window very well. They're easy to warm up. They give you that soft tyre grip, that rubbery grip, really giving you a lot of pace. And the medium tyres, again, the yellow wall, they're going to be slightly harder rubber. They're going to go longer for the race, but they're going to be slower on one lap. So the difference for those who might be particularly new to Formula 1 in the stream, or anyone's family watching, a lap on those medium tyres to put in provisional pole with the 14 people, and they're not exactly bad people. You've got Ghost, MX, Paus in there as well, of course, Tier and Scott and Aces. They're all set their times. It's not like he's done it with the tier 2 guys. He's done an incredible job on those mediums, and that is a very, very good time indeed from Koru. Again, we've also got Ben Finch out on a lap also on his medium tyre run. Let's see if you can get anywhere near Koru, which I'm going to highly doubt, because what a lap that was from Corey. But you should at least expect Ben to be well inside that top 10, well inside that top 5 even, particularly, I'm going to guess. I mean, now halfway through the session, 7 minutes 15 on the clock left to go, and indeed it was an incredible lap from Corey to see himself on provisional pole on mediums as well. So he might even be setting himself up well for the race here, to start the race on those mediums and go for that one stop. Thinking ahead, all of the RRL guys on the medium tyre as it stands. Taylor also starting his lap. We're on board with the Williams, the 46 of Ben Finch, who seems to really favour that Williams. But Ghost, 28.686 on the soft compound tyres. That is more like it from the Ghost. The Red Bull driver really coming into the season doing well. There's Paus, 28.793. Everyone's improving. The track has evolved. The rubber's been laid down. The track conditions are optimal now, as Davila just goes at 6/1000ths of a second quicker than his teammate into P2. Let's see where Ben Finch can put himself on the grid. It's P9, a 29.85 seconds. 8.57 I should say. As Corey's knocked down to P5, MX into P4, 28.837. I think Corey's going to go again on the soft compound tyres and definitely try and give Ghost a run for his money. 5 cents between himself and Ghost, and 5 places between himself and Ghost. And Corey, even though he set provisional pole on the mediums, still unhappy, and I think that's the racing driver in him. Never ever happy with what he does. Always striving to improve upon himself and improve time and just get better overall and really show what he can do. We'll go on board with Taylor Hammers, another one who is on those medium tyres. He's invalidated his lap, unfortunately. So was going to go on board with Ghost, but I'm sure he's on a cool-down lap. Does not want to get those tyres any more worn than they need to be, putting himself into the pit entry box. Apologies. But yeah, just pulling himself in. There's Rick into P5 as he crossed the line at 28.849, just ahead of Corey. JMR's also looking to start his lap. Indeed, now is on those soft compound tyres in the Ferrari, and another team to sort of adopt that high rate setup. and towards the little left kink. Again, get on that curb, really minimise that distance, minimise the steering. The more you turn, the slower you're going to go. So the least amount you can turn with the shortest distance. Oh, the McLaren getting a little bit in the way there between them, and that might have cost JM a little bit of time, maybe scared him. I think that was Tier that went into P8 with a 29.338, I should say, as he now comes into the first chicane. I say it's the first chicane. You've got turn 1 and 2, and then you've got 3 and 4, which are sort of the chicane, so it's more the third chicane, but it's the chicane on the Mulsanne straight. Yeah, flags through sectors 2 and 3. No retirements, of course, from this qualifying session. 4 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. And it's still Ghost that leads the way with Davila and his teammate Paus in P2 and 3. MX in P4 with Rick rounding off the top 5. Koru on the mediums, definitely well within the mix, and maybe looking to go onto those soft compound tyres to get himself closer to pole position once more. Sumo in P7 with Tier. P8 JM at the moment P9. But let's see where he can put him. He rounds himself through the penultimate corner and the final corner on the exit. He's committed to complete this lap, so he's definitely a little bit up. DRS open, blitzing his way past the camera and towards the timing line. Goes at P6. So it's then Tier and Jackalacco in P9 and 10 that round off the top 10. Very, very close, very, very competitive grid, it must be said. At the very least, Ben Finch also on another outlap. He's on the medium compound tyres again. Confident that maybe he can improve on that previous medium lap time. Davila is out on his final run. 3 minutes 10 left to go. It will be his final run. We'll get one outlap and then one flying lap also. We'll go around about 1.5 minutes. Outlap time, just maybe a little bit more. So yeah, this is going to be their final runs. MX also heading out too. Just a question of whether the Red Bull and other side of the Aston Martin camp are going to head out. I think that was Vardy up into P6, so 29.017 for him at the moment. Well, right on board as he went 1.3 seconds quicker on his previous best lap time. Now on board with Davila. Also MX, who's heading out, trying to savour those tyres as best they can. Of course, you really, really want to minimise the tyre deg that you get while on the tyres on the outlap. Any tiny bit of degradation you get, any bit of graining or just overall wear on those tyres, really going to hurt you for the race, especially if you're the likes of those inside the top 10 and you have to start the race on the tyre you set your fastest lap in qualifying on. So you do not want to be starting the race on some very, very worn tyres. So you've got to be taking extra care on the outlap. Goes the provisional pole sitter heading out on his final run, waiting for Koru and the rest of the RRL boys. I think Ben's still on his outlap. He's now starting his lap. That's a very confused Womax. I think he's one can't decide what speed he wants to go to, nor what gear, nor what outlap or pit lane he wants to be doing. Mediums with P8. I think Corey is going to try and pick it out and go for that alternate strategy. Davila starting his final run through turn 1 and 2 and immediately invalidated. That could cost him. He's going to have to do a second installation run, that second outlap, to warm those tyres up, charge that battery and go again. It's going to be all or nothing then on this final run as he's invalidated it. His teammate very, very marginally behind as he's now running through the final sector. So too is Ghost, and MX now starting his lap to the right hand side towards turn 1, chucking it in full commitment as he goes through 5th gear again, keeping that throttle pin, keeping that car's weight as evenly distributed as it can. Really does not want to unsettle the car through to round off sector 1 through turn 3 and 4, 3rd gear, chuck it in, and then again for turn 5. He's doing a pretty good job up to the first sector. 1/10 to be precise, runs very wide, using the entirety of the track is that Alfa Romeo, and to the right hand side already DRS open as he blitzes his way down the Mulsanne straight and towards the chicane. He might be getting a little bit of a tow from that Alpine in front, or one of the Williams in front. There's a lot of blue on the grid, but as he goes through the chicane again, very tidily done, clabbers that curve on the inside, really shortens that distance. Ghost now starting his lap. Also Paus as well is looking good to start his lap, and has done indeed. Yeah, Gamer has retired from the session without setting a lap time. So too is Taylor and Zuba without setting a competitive lap time. MX then chucking it through this very fast right-hander, keeps it a much tidier line, keeping it tight than we first saw on his lap a little bit earlier on in the session. And again, really taking a nice line through this left-hander, shortest run through the long right. The Ferrari very nicely moving out of the way. We're now entering the final stages of this qualifying session. Ghost, Davila, Paus, MX and Rick, your top 4. Your top 5, Rick, Vardy and JM. Koru also not deciding to start a lap. This is MX now on his way towards the line, 27-28, and he crosses its pole position for MX, a 28.631, but Ghost on a lap, he's improving. Davila on a lap, he's slightly down but still can improve. AP a little bit down to the middle sector as he comes in towards sector 3, but it's all to play for. Any time can be gained at any point, and it's so close. But at the moment, MX then takes provisional pole. Who's closest to the line? It's going to be Paus to cross the line first of the next of the front runners. And Paus, as he rounds through the penultimate corner in towards the final one, he's going to take it all the way to the end. Can he improve? 6/1000ths will see him a position higher and in front of his teammate. He hurdles his way towards the line. Isn't going to be any faster for Paus. It is. He matches just about his teammate's time. 2/100ths of a second between the two. Davila, though, looking good to improve. Ghost stays second. Can't improve on his time. So I think MX is going to claim a pole position here in Le Castellet. Davila invalidated his time. He's going to start 4th, but it's an all Aston Martin front or second row with MX and Ghost on the front here. Still looking to improve upon his time on those softs. Try and knock Cora a bit down, but again, a little bit too ambitious on the curb on the left-hand side there, and just munched off a little bit more than he could chew as he rounds off the grid now. Rounds off his lap now, and will stay P10. But still a top 10 start for Tier 1, so he cannot be complaining whatsoever. A very good qualifying session, and only half a tenth separating P1 and P2. Could not have asked for much more than that, and overall less than 0.2 of a second separating the entirety of the top 5. Definitely do. Ghost 4/10 up and invalidated his time. That could have been pole for the championship contender down in P11, in fact, in the standings. Of course, that is due to a couple of poor opening rounds, but he's looking to come back fighting. Scott down in 15th. So at the moment, there's going to be a further 14 points that MX is gaining on his championship rival. Pabs also up there in the mix. MX, yeah, we wouldn't usually tip him to be particularly good in qualifying, but he's the one to take pole. A 1:28.631 for the Alfa Romeo. He takes his first pole position of this season. Ghost joins him on the front row in that Red Bull, just half a tenth off. AP in P3 with Davila P4, Rick P5, Vardy P6, Sumo P7 with JM P8, Koru and Tier round off the top 10, 9th and 10th. Jack Lacko P11, Wimax P12 with Ben Finch 13th, Aces vs Kings 14th, Scott Taylor, Emiliano, Max Zuba and Gamer round off the grid in 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th and 20th. And well, definitely a very good qualifying indeed. Still seems to be pretty clear skies and sunny for the race. And Koru, confident in his strategy, does not really bother with qualifying. Still set a good enough lap time, of course, for P9, and is inside the top 10. He's going to be starting on the medium tyre, that alternate strategy, and is confident that his decision is going to play dividends and really pay off in the long run. 27 laps, of course, of the French Grand Prix ahead of us, and Koru is confident in his ability, in his pace. He definitely showed that with his lap on the mediums. 29.1, I believe he set in the middle stages of qualifying. So it's all to play for in the front of the pack. Koru definitely one of the most to impress us since his debut in Singapore for the Tier 1 Championship. And he's definitely gotten the ball rolling very quickly. MX then leads us round for the formation lap. The predicted pit stop strategy: soft, medium, medium, or a soft, medium, hard. AWS powering F1 inside. So you can see that little graphic in the bottom center of your screen. We now head then around the lap. 27 ahead of us, or 28 if you include the formation lap. Depends what side you're on in terms of that debate. 20 drivers on the grid. Full house tonight. Definitely could not have asked for better. And it's going to be an incredible fight. Ghost usually gets off well from the start. It's a short sprint down towards turn 1 and 2. You're not on the brakes for long, even in qualifying and even in the race. You're not on the brakes for very long through turn 1 and 2. So, you know, it's not much of a standing opportunity, but if Ghost can get himself alongside, then who knows? And of course, he only has to wait a couple of more corners, and then he can find himself getting a nice little slipstream down this Mulsanne straight towards the chicane. Will be very good indeed. And of course, don't confuse this Mulsanne straight with the Mulsanne straight you see at the Circuit de la Sarthe. two different Mulsanne straights, but both share the same name. Mulsanne straight at Le Mans, probably a lot more famous and probably a lot more loved than the one here, but who knows? Still a nice straight, definitely one you don't often see at Paul Ricard. Amongst the 264, I believe, different layouts of this circuit. It's a nice straight to have, as opposed to twisty turny corners, so you can really slipstream down. That's TTV Max and Gamer both disqualified from the session. They're going to be starting on the grid. You're already at the grid. They've been teleported to the grid, and not the best way to start there. Fight, we're going to go to the tyre graphic, and it seems a lot of people outside the top 10 starting on the mediums. They're confident it's quicker. Ben Finch, Wumax, Jackalacco, Koru, Aces, Scott, Taylor, Emiliano, Max, and Gamer. The only person outside of the top 10 to be on the softs is, in fact, Zuba. He's the lone wolf there, all by himself. And hopefully for him it pays off dividends and he doesn't wipe out everyone into turn 1, as he's done. Not, of course, an APPF1, but we won't talk about that, shall we, Zuba? Don't think we will, don't think it's necessary, as MX now aligns himself on to the grid, and I need to prepare myself for what is going to be an incredible race. I'm sure you're just waiting for the Hasses and the Alpines in the back there to line themselves on to the correct grid slot. Then we're going to wait for the 5 red lights, the green flag to be waved at the backside of the grid, and it's lights out for round number 4 here in the Castellet. The car's now ready. The green flag has been waved. We're waiting for those 5 red lights to illuminate your screen. MX on pole. Here we go. They're revving up the cars. They're getting themselves ready. Indeed they are. Here we go. 4 lights, 5 red lights for the French Grand Prix. Round number 4 of the Tier 1 Championship is underway, and Ghost gets a very good start from pole position, already looking alongside the Alfa Romeo towards turn 1. 2 by 2, the Aston Martins go towards turn 1 as well. MX is defending. Can Ghost go all the way around the outside? He's going to look. It's going to be the inside for turn 2. Ghost into the lead of the race, and MX having to tuck in behind as Davila and AP swapping positions. Davila into P3. It's all kicking off at the back. Can MX respond to Ghost? No, he can't. An incredible start from the man who started P2. AP down a position. Vardy up 1. Rick down 1. He's side by side with Sumo, who's going to look down the inside in towards turn 5. Gets it done. Rick leaving him though on the outside, but the Alfa Romeo just going to force him all the way off. There's yellow flags through sectors 1 and 2. I think there's someone off. I think Wumax has had a bit of a spin. There's the Ferrari of JM looking all over the rear end of Rick as they head down the Mulsanne straight. Is MX in fact going to look for a move? No, he's not. He's going to look, but not send. We now go back to the midfield fight. This is the Ferrari down the inside in towards the chicane. Rick down 3 places. Really not getting the ball running at all very well. The Ferrari getting a bit of a shaky exit off that corner as well. Here comes Tier on Rick. He's just going backwards. You get overtaken once and it just overtakes after overtakes. Once you've lost that rhythm, there goes the McLaren though around the outside. The Haas of Koru looking feisty as well. He might go all the way around the outside of both of them. Looking around the outside of the AlphaTauri. Gamer, another DNF, and a virtual safety car has been brought into effect. The VSC, of course, pressing pause essentially on the race on lap 1 of 27. Gamer just couldn't get the ball rolling, couldn't get himself off the line, so the driver's having to adhere to of course, a 40% race speed delta. There's Ghost peeling off into the pit lane. Has he sustained damage on the opening lap, or does he genuinely want to come into the pit lane? Vardy also coming in. Are these guys coming in for a genuine stop? Was this their plan? Paus stays out to take P2. There's Ben, a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But the VSC in effect, of course, everyone, as I say, adhering to a 40% race speed delta. We go green once more. It's a very busy pit lane back there. I think Vardy and Ghost going onto the medium tyres. MX leads the way, then Paus and Davila, P2 and 3. Sumo breathing down his neck at some point. The 2 Astons have in fact swapped positions. I'm not quite sure where Paus got him back. Probably amongst the fight between JM and Rick. Might have missed it. We're on lap 2 of 27. We go down the long straight once more. MX comfortably leading the way. 7/10, not quite out of the DRS range for when lap 3 rolls around, but it's definitely a nice gap to have. No sends from AP, particularly on this occasion. And we'll have to see how he gets on. A very long train. It's all aboard, I think, the Tier or the Rick train from P6 downwards. Everyone very close between each other. The predicted pit stop strategy has in fact changed from medium to hard to medium, soft, medium. I think a lot of people have benefited under the VSC by trying to get themselves in the pits early and get themselves on that medium tyre strategy quickly without losing too much time. There's Zuber getting himself past Scott. I think they're going to go side by side for the flat out right-hander, still side by side, so close to contact, and between the two there's Zuber on the inside. Scott still giving him a run all the way around the outside, but those soft tyres just allow Zuber to etch himself ahead. Scott looking back up the inside, but again thinking better of it. Sends the Red Bull in deep though, could open up the door maybe for an opportunity. There's TTV Max just ahead in the Mercedes, the Red Bull breathing down his neck, as is the case with the real life Formula 1 also. But it is MX that still leads the way. Paus and Davila P2 and 3. You're now seeing the fight for P13. This is Max on the right hand side, not really putting up much of a fight. Is that Davila going round? It is indeed. The Aston Martin has been spun out of turn 2. He's managed to get himself going again, but that Sumo promoted onto the podium, and with DRS enabled, Paus is breathing down MX's back now through turn 6 in towards 7. MX goes in very deep. Paus going to look to go all the way around the outside before DRS is even enabled. That was MX slowing down to try and get the DRS. A very cheeky tactic, but it didn't work for him. Paus gets the DRS, gets himself ahead, and Sumo might even be looking to get past his teammate as well. That tactic did not work well for MX at all, and he's now under pressure. He's now second man in the train, and that is the worst place to be. Paus takes the lead of the French Grand Prix, followed by the two Alfa Romeos, the two charging Alfa Romeos of MX and Sumo. Sumo will not be playing second fiddle to his teammate. If he's got the pace, he will get his way through and will try and get himself in front and on to P2. MX goes in very deep though. He's off the track. This is going to invite Sumo to go down the inside. MX going backwards. This has been an appalling lap 3 for MX. Sumo into P2, MX down to P3, and well, it all started with that cheeky tactic to get the DRS, tried to slow down, invite Paus through, but it was just a little bit too late, and Paus into the lead. Sumo into P2, MX into P3. He's going to have the DRS. JM and Rick looking to join this party as well. There's now a 5-car train for the top 5. Sumo sets the fast lap at 32.3, but JMB set at 32.244 for the time being. Davila into the pit lane, might have suffered a little bit of wing damage, maybe, but AEP getting a bit of a poor run through turn 1 and 2. Are we going to see a change for the race lead again? Because Sumo might be looking feisty. That Alfa Romeo again, not the best qualifying, pretty good for Sumo standards, but the start to the race has just been absolutely amazing and absolutely electric for the Alfa Romeo, who's just got the ball rolling, got into that rhythm. He's now putting that pressure on the Aston Martin, who again goes in quite deep towards turn 6 and through 7. That's going to set him up poorly. That's the Alfa Romeo of Sumo slightly off the track in DRS, pulls to the left hand side, blitzes his way past, is ahead before the corner. The Aston Martin of Paus tries to tuck his way in, but Sumo into the race lead, and now Paus is sandwiched between the two Alfa Romeos. P1 for Sumo, P3 for MX, and P2 for AP Paus, who might be looking to come back at him though, maybe with a little bit of ERS. Sumo having to go defensive. Paus looking to the left hand side. Is he going to go all the way around the outside of the flat out right hander? Indeed they are. That's Paus. Is he ahead? Sumo slightly still. Is the Aston Martin going to try it all the way around the outside? No, he's going to try and go for the switcheroo. Not quite going to work. MX though, front row seat to this entire thing, just can't find a way through. This is incredible action that you would not expect at all. And no, Paus and MX have come together. MX has tagged the back of Paus, and he's been sent spinning, and now JM is getting around the outside of MX. Rick in towards the podium places because MX is into the pit lane. Oh, MX, that was a very, very clumsy mistake. And oh no, who's that spun round? Sumo's been spun round off the exit of the final corner as well. He's lost his front wing. JM takes the lead. Rick into P2, and Koru from 9th on the grid is already 3rd. As we now go green, fully green once again. Zuber the fastest lap of the race. What a chaotic start this has been to round number 4. Rick now putting that pressure on JM. It's been such a mixed up grid. Of course, Paus, Sumo, MX fighting for it, but MX just went straight into the back of Paus, and that really then just, that is disappointing. We've robbed of a fight there, and of course Sumo out of the final corner just lit the rears up and spun round, and it's a shame for Sumo, of course, but this is Rick now closing in the slipstream. He's got the DRS, he's using his ERS. Is he going to be able to go for the move on the Ferrari? Pulls to the left hand side towards the chicane. JM on the outside. I think he's just going to concede the position. Here goes Rick into the race lead, and very comfortably so. Yellow flash through sectors 1 and 2. I believe that's TTV Max going round. Indeed it is. In the Mercedes, he's managed to get himself going though once more. But again, a very chaotic start to this race. Tier stuck in the DRS of Corey, but that's going to be helping him because Corey, a very, very fast driver to be following. And on those medium tyres, he's only going to start getting quicker as the soft tyres degrade. So if you're going to be behind anyone at this stage in the race, Koru definitely the man to be. He's going to have that toe hook. He's going to pull you down the track. He's going to really benefit you if you can stay behind. I think it's all kicking off further back. Maybe a bit of a confusion with Sumo. Yeah, he's going slowly, very slowly indeed, as Max gets himself a 3-second penalty, but it's very close. You've got Zuba and Taylor incredibly close on track. Taylor still on those mediums. Emiliano up into 7th place, and now I think we might have a change for a race lead. That's Emiliano going quite deep in towards the final corner. We are going to have a change for a race lead. Look into the left-hand side goes JM. This is allowing Koru to close up. We go back to the fight for P8 though. It's a 3-car train. Zuba looking to get involved. The Haas goes defensive. Is Zuba going to be forced off the track? Indeed he is. Kept his foot in though. Very brave to do so. The Williams a very poor run off of turn 2, and Taylor looking to the right hand side. Doesn't quite have the run. He's going to wait for that DRS, that drag reduction system, to get himself in, but he goes deep in towards turn 3, and so too does Emiliano. That's going to invite them. There goes the Haas of Taylor around the outside. So too does Zuba. Very bold moves from the pair of them to get themselves up. Very opportunistic moves. I think Emiliano got a little bit caught up on that inside. A change to the race lead though. This is the Ferrari coming back at Rick, and now Koru is well and truly established in this fight. He's into the top 3. He's on those mediums. He's on that good strategy, and now I think he's one of the favourites to take the win, with a lot of the protagonists, MX and Pavs, really just ruining their own races. Or I say Pavs ruined his own race, MX ruined it for him. That was through no mistake of his own. The McLaren now through the fast right-hander. 3-car train, very close together. The entire bunch of them all within a couple of car lengths of each other, and they really cannot be separated by much. Tier as well is only a couple of seconds, about a second and a half behind this entire fight. JM definitely a quick driver indeed, as Rick and JM both peeled his way into the pit lane very late. In fact, they might see themselves picking up a penalty for that one. Hopefully they don't. I think Tier went in a little bit more correctly. So Koru takes the race lead in that Haas, starting 9th on the grid. Jackalacco follows him into P2. So too does Aces. This could be a very interesting strategy war. Not just pace-wise, but strategy is going to play a massive factor in this race. I'm 100% sure of that. This is a three-way fight for P5. Emiliano has now been caught up by Scott and Zuba, as the medium tyres inherit the top 6 positions in the majority of the grid. In fact, are on the medium tyres at this stage. Lap 7 of 27. Ghost back into P9. Of course, he cut off the first lap from the lead of this race, which arguably was a bit of a sketchy decision, to say the least. Rick trying to get past JM as he goes down the inside and towards turn 3. Those two coming out pretty much neck and neck with each other off the pit lane, followed each other in, and have come out pretty much equal as well. Scott on the back of Emiliano. Should be a pretty plain sailing move down the inside in towards the chicane. That is Taylor getting his rears locked a little bit. Emiliano trying it around the outside. Good effort. That's just going to allow Zuba maybe to have a little bit of a look, but he gets swamped off the curb, off that corner, and unfortunately couldn't get the run to challenge. But Taylor locking the rears a little bit, very easy mistake to do if you lock the rears, and again the rear goes, but held it well. Very good save indeed. Quick hands in order to save that one. Emiliano trying his best to hold his own against the front runners, but again just can't, just unfortunately doesn't have the pace, and that is the high caliber of drivers that we have in APPF1. Rick, a 3-second time penalty in his fight with JM Marks, looking to the inside of the double apex right-hander. Again, can't quite get it done. That's Zuba into the pit lane again. I think a couple of changes for position. Zuba in off those soft compound tyres, wants to get them changed very quickly. And I do not blame them. They are going to be very much worse for wear. Nothing really much happening at the front side of the field. But we've got little trains. We've got everyone sort of splitting off into their groups of 3 and sort of doing their own thing at this point in the race. I mean, Ghost now up into P8. He's on a recovery drive and hoping to be on the optimal strategy, hoping for a safety car maybe to really bring him back into this mix. Kept it clean. Of course, only 4 drivers have got a penalty. That's Tier looking up the inside, and MX hopefully not going to rear end him through turn 1 and 2. But he keeps it clean, and will have the DRS down towards turn number 8 and 9. That's Scott getting past Taylor Hammers, or having a bit of a tussle with him down the DRS straight, and gets it done. Taylor going in a little bit too deep, and again through there, almost into the side of Scott. That's heart in his mouth moment, almost cramped up his leg, probably getting on those brakes in order to not hit him. As we go back on board with MX, this 3-car train. Davila under pressure. Tier in the AlphaTauri, put into the left hand side. Is he going to send it under brakes? Thinks, but doesn't send, and backs out of it before he goes into the side of Davila. Very mindful thinking from Tier, and he's definitely one of the most thoughtful and logical people in this 3-car train. Davila also very thoughtful indeed through the flat out. Right-hander go the three of them. That's Tyr all over the back of the Aston Martin. Is he going to look to the right-hand side? No, he's not. But he definitely thought about it. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you are no longer a racing driver. And that is definitely a very, very good quote to live by. If you can see a gap, definitely go for it. But again, don't be stupid and send it for a gap that doesn't exist, because, well, a gap that doesn't exist will probably not exist. Even if you put your car there, and you're probably going to take out both of you. Always is the attacking car's problem to overtake cleanly. Of course, does take two to tango. JM, a 32.142 on those medium tyres. The lighter car as well, the DRS of Ghost in front, definitely going to be aiding him in getting himself that faster lap, that extra point. But still, that lighter fuel and those medium tyres, and again, JM being a very, very quick driver, is going to help him in doing so. Also, I think we've got a bit, maybe it's in front. I swear I saw a car sideways. Maybe my eyes are deceiving me, but we go back to the front. This is Aces versus Jack Alacco, the fight for P2 between the McLaren and the Alpine. Aces, again, a very, very good driver himself and Scott working very well together as a team. Of course, both British drivers in a French outfit and a French team here in France. And of course we saw with Singapore how good the Alpine strategy is. They communicate well with each other. That's the Alpine look into the right hand side. Is he going to send up the inside? Double apex right hander. Jack Alacco gives him the room, but Aces couldn't quite commit to that one. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get himself into the top two. This battle's going to be raging on for a while. I'm sure Jack Alacco does not give up places particularly easy. As they go through the penultimate corner, Corey still comfortably leading the way, 5 seconds clear of this little battle we've got going on between second and third. DRS open, that's Aces using his ERS. He maybe wants to get this move done. Jack Alacco looking in his mirrors, you can see parked it in the middle of the circuit. Put into the right hand side goes the Alpine. Is he going to go all the way around the outside? Dances that car. It's now the inside for turn 2. What a move from Aces to get himself into P2, and that definitely took courage. In order to do that, you saw just lifted off the brakes, trail brakes slightly differently, just danced that car all the way around the outside, and that is how you get it done. That is a way to take P2 for sure. But don't forget that Jack Alacco is going to have that DRS back down this Mulsanne straight towards the heavy braking zone of the chicane. He's got a little bit more ERS left to use as well. DRS open for the McLaren as they both hard all the way down the Mulsanne straight. Is he quite going to be close enough? I don't think he's activating his ERS in order to go for the move. So he's going to sit behind and just bide his time, maybe sit behind Aces and walk and just wait. Does not need to go for any rash moves. Aaron said it best. What a move indeed. This is JM on one of the championship protagonists, put into the left hand side things, but again doesn't send. He's very low on ERS, so too is Ghost. Neither of them particularly want a battle. I don't think either of them can particularly afford a battle, especially when they're trying their best, their utmost best, to get themselves back up the order. And a scrap between themselves, definitely not what they're going to want to do. This is MX on the right hand side of Davila towards the flat out right hander. Gets himself ahead before the corner, takes the race line, pretty done deal, up into P12 for MX. And he's going to say thank you very much and try and set his sights on Tyr, who's just a couple of attempts up the road. JM, of course, still on the back of Ghost. Max, another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Lap 11 of 27, approaching halfway through. And already we've had an incredible battle for the race lead, for podium places, and just an incredible midfield battle overall. It's been a pretty good one, and I'm sure the driver's going to be looking forward to watching this one back. Bitmappy, we will never ever forget that T1 in China where you just absolutely sent it. That was an incredible move, and definitely an excuse to bring it up. Just danced it around the outside, took balls that, very much so, always respect it. This is now JM looking to the left hand side, blitzes past Ghost in the DRS. Ghost having to tuck in into the slipstream to see if he can resend it, but I don't think he can. And that is JM up into P8. And the Red Bull having to settle in behind those medium tyres, going to be looking maybe a little bit worse for wear, and they definitely are, with especially that front wing of that Red Bull as he just about manages to avoid the barrier. That is Ghost going for a bit of a spin under traction, nearly hit the wall, just about managed to keep himself out of it, and he could be losing a couple more places to Davila and Paus, and also his teammate Zuba, but I think he's just going to etch his way ahead. So that's a shame for Ghost, because he's definitely one of the quicker drivers on the grid, but picking off lap 1 maybe wasn't particularly the best idea to do. Unfortunately, So a lot of the main protagonists for this race, apart from Corey, really haven't had the best day. That's Taylor into the pit lane. This is the first of the starters of the medium tyre to come in. He's pressed the button really and might trigger a whole load of pit stops as people try to cover off undercuts, etc, etc. The AlphaTauri Vardy getting a bit of a lock-up. You have those tyres really skate across the track. Hard tyres going on for the House of Taylor Hammers as he rejoins the track in around about P15. He's going to try his best to get himself up the order once more. Davila still on the back of MX, not letting him breathe, and wants to beat MX. Of course, everyone wants to beat everyone. But more so that MX took out his teammate a little bit earlier on in the race. TTB Max, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Davila third in the train though. It's going to be hard for him to catch up to Tyr, who's going to be giving DRS to MX just behind him. And MX closing. You can see Tyr weaving around trying to break that toe. It's not quite enough because MX is still closing. Neither of them are able to close enough to make the move though through the chicane over the curb. And doing a great job of keeping this clean for the most part. Yeah, tyres for all these one-stops are going to be ruined, absolutely ruined. France is not particularly kind to the tyres. That's Corey into the pit lane. The race leader has decided to press the button and come into the pit lane. So too does Aces. I think maybe Scott as well has got the gap for a double stack. I think he's going to stay out though just to be on the safe side. Jack Lacko in. Emiliano is also into the pit lane. Vardy going a bit deep. I think he thought about it, but didn't quite think to commit. And this might allow JM to get the move done. DRS open. Is he going to use his DRS? Is he just going to try and use pure slipstream? I don't think he is. It's a very busy pit lane. Scott inherits the race lead provisionally, but I think Corey's going to have the net race lead. Comes out on harder compound tyres to the end of the race, and that should be fairly comfortable. I think we've got a spinner of Max, is that through sector 1? Indeed it is, I'm pretty sure. He's managed to get himself going again though, and he's doing well to get himself to the end, and he's joining 19 drivers that will score points. That's 2 points on the board for him, and Ben Finch has had a really forgettable race. I expected him to come through. We've not really seen much of him. He's sort of been back there, and as I was talking about Max, in fact, finishing this race, we've now got a full course safety car, and this could play absolute madness for Scott and Vardy and really spice this race up again. As Max's DNF has spiced things up just a little bit in the pit lane. This is Scott. He's going to try his best to get himself back out in the race lead. It's going to be close between himself and Corey. Of course, he's going to lose a lot less time in the pit lane as Sumo and Wumax both bring themselves in under safety car. Everyone's going slowly. Everyone's managing their tyres and adhering to that delta. So you lose a lot less time under the safety car. So this could play well into Scott, Vardy, and even JM's hands too with Rick. I think Corey will still inherit the race lead back again, but it's going to be very close, and of course Scott will have those fresher tyres to the end of this race. And of course it does bring in Ghost and Paus and Davila back into the mix and really bunches everyone back up. It's going to be a very, very, very good second half to this race. Up 13 of 27, we are just over halfway through. About 13 and a half laps left to go. The safety car is out. If you are just joining us, Max has DNF'd. Scott comes in. Where is Corey? He's now coming down the pit straight. I think Scott is going to come out in P2 right behind Corey. That's really, really worked well for him. And that is Aces, though, coming up the order. It's going to be a drag race between the two Alpines. Aces just about gets it, I think. Oh, no, they're going to be side by side on the exit. It's a race between the two Alpines, but I think Scott's going to give that to his teammate and allow him to get in front. So, Aces and Scott, P2 and 3. And let's not forget where these guys started. Corey P9, Aces, well, definitely down there, I think, outside the top 10. We'll have a quick look at the position changes. Up 12, so too is Scott. They were P13 and 14, well, P14 and 15 on the grid. And up now in P2 and 3, legitimately on pit stops. Everything's fitted itself out. Everything's all good. As in fact, a lot of people going for some fresh mediums to the end of this race. Vardy and JM 4th and 5th on fresh mediums. This could be very, very spicy indeed. Watch out for those people on the faster tyres. Of course, their tyres are going to die out a lot more compared to the hards, but still. It's going to be very quickly. As Everyone queuing themselves up under the safety car, just behind Bird Mylander in the Mercedes AMG. Very nice Mercedes AMG. I think it's a different model than with the one we've got in game. And they haven't changed it. They've changed the livery though. But I think we've got more of a... I'm not entirely sure. I think it's the right one. Unless they've just recycled the safety car model, but it looks to be the right one. Again, not entirely sure. With all the cars queuing up behind, Corey leading the way. He'll lead them off the restart. He's very used to leading restarts. Max Barwig, not particularly happy, but your first race in Tier 1, you got to halfway. That's all that matters. And always positive to take. At least you weren't last or the first to DNF, last on track. So yeah, under safety car, this is really going to bunch everyone up. Of course, if you are new to Formula 1, the safety car brings out when there's a big incident on the track. They need all the cars close together so they can sort it out, and marshals have loads of time while the cars are going around bunched up together to sort out that car on the track. And in the virtual world, it really does spice it up as it does in the real world. Safety car here and there really spices things up, especially around pit windows. That's when safety cars will really catch you out and can really decide races, as we've seen. Scott and Aces managed to get themselves into P2 and 3, Varley into P4, and it's really brought the likes of Ghost, Powers, Davler and MX back into this race on those fresh mediums with a bunched up grid as well. So yeah, stay tuned for sure. I think maybe this is going to be the last lap under safety car, so if Sumo can catch up before the sector 3 line, I think he should. This will be our last lap under the safety car then, because Sumo absolutely caught up to the back of the safety car queue very nicely. So it will be Corey that leads the way. Ace is behind him with Scott P3, Vardy P4, with Taylor rounding off the top 5. Taylor Hammers, a man you probably wouldn't expect to be in the top 5 at the moment. He has had a bit of a quiet race, but he's done a good job in doing so to get himself up to where he is. Safety car is in this lap, confirmed by race control. Sumo at the backside, Corey at the front side. And we're going to go green very, very shortly. 2 laps we've had under the safety car. It's been a very crucial, a very pivotal moment in this race around the pit window for the 1-stoppers, and it's allowed the 2-stoppers to close up, have that 3-second stop, and it's all or nothing now for the last 13 laps, the last 12 laps as we cross the line for lap 16. And it's going to be absolutely all or nothing, everything on the table, or nothing left on the table at all. You're going to take everything. We're going to give everything. Corey needs to back up everyone while we go green at once more. You can see weaving around. He needs to get those hard tyres into a nice optimal window in order to go racing again. Does not want to be caught out by the safety car. You can see Ace is breathing down his gearbox, ready to go. We go through the final corner. When is the Haas going to punch it? The Alpine waiting, so too is his teammate. We approach the line, and the Haas really backing everyone up. We go green once more. That's an absolute incredible start from JM, who already goes into the race here. I think he maybe jumped a little bit too early though as you go towards turn 1. JM having to give those positions back. That's the AlphaTauri of Vardy looking to get past Scott. It's a bit of a kerfuffle, a bit of confusion further back, but Taylor Hammers gets himself into P4. A big slide though, manages to hold it. I think there was a spinner of Scott, and oh no, Taylor's been tagged. He's been skated across, been reset to track and down to P12. That was an absolutely appalling start for the Haas driver, unfortunately for him, but Corey still leads. Aces in P2, can't quite keep that pace despite being on the better tyre as Corey leads through turn 7. MX though on the back of Rick, he's on the fresh medium tyres, so too is the McLaren in front of the Alfa Romeo. Ghost also closing down that gap as they all funnel their way down the Mulsanne straight, and a lovely little conga train should invite a couple of people to go for a send. There's MX up into P5 because Rick's locked the rears. He's gone round on the chicane. Emiliano also very deep and may have cut the chicane, I'm not entirely sure, but MX up into 5th. I think Ghost might have got caught up a little bit caught out by that as well, because Davler's into 6th. Perhaps also up into P8. This could be very tiny for the championship. Scott needs to get a move on. Scott, of course, getting spun round by something. I think it might have been JM collecting a couple of people or confusing a lot of people. So Scott's down to P14. He's not going to be particularly happy about that one. Lap 16 then of 27 draws to a close. And it's Corey that leads from Aces, JM, Emiliano and MX, your top 5, with Davila, Ghost, Pals, Tia and Jackalacco, the rest of the top 10 very close, as Davila all over the back of the Alfa Romeo. And I think one of them went in deep. Indeed it was Pals that went in deep, that invited Tia to go up the inside, but it's very, very close between MX and Emiliano, who goes to the left hand side. The Alfa Romeo pulling to the right hand side. Is he going to sweep all the way around the outside? Indeed he is. The inside for turn 2, and he gets that car between himself and Davila, which is absolutely crucial for the race ahead. But the Red Bull is all over the back of the Aston Martin, pulling to the right hand side in towards turn 3, backs out of it. Davila gives him the space, but again Ghost just thinks better of it. Emiliano then really holding these guys up, allowing MX to get that gap, really backing everyone up. You can see Davila, Ghost, Tia and Pavs all squashed together behind Emiliano. They're all going to go flying past down the straight, hopefully, and indeed they are, because Emiliano goes round, gets over that curb unfortunately, and sends himself spinning and out of this race. No full course safety car for the time being, and for the time being it's the Red Bull pulling to the left hand side in towards the chicane, goes down the inside, gets ahead and in it to the top 5. Very nicely done, as JM is on the back of Aces. These medium tyres really assisting in that. Aces goes defensive. JM's going to try and set up the switcheroo, get that better run towards the fast right-hander of turn 11. Is it going to be done? Not quite. But Davila still on the back of Ghost, and we'll try and put that pressure on MX a little bit up the road, 1.5 seconds. But we saw from the start of this race that Ghost is the quicker of the two, provided that he keeps that ERS alive. MX already burning through quite a hefty chunk of it. JM on the back of Aces. Start of this lap, we are going to get the DRS re-enabled. Corey leads 1.6 seconds ahead of Aces. He's got off to an absolute perfect restart, just did what he needed to, backed everyone up all the way to the line, punched it when no one was expecting it. It's a great job from Corey. 32.0 sets the fastest lap of this race on those hard tyres. This DRS is in fact enabled. Lap 18 of 27, not long left in this race to go. 11 laps. 10 laps, in fact, I should say. AP a 3-second time penalty. That could be crucial, in fact, in his position, because Jackalacco behind him has got nothing accrued against his license. Can Ghost get close enough to MX in order to have that aid of DRS down the Mulsanne straight before the DRS detection? Not quite. You can adjust the out of it. 1.1 seconds of the 1 second that he needs to be within in order to benefit off it. So Davila could actually close the gap and really maybe even go for a move, but we'll have to wait and see. He's closing. I don't think he's closing quite enough in order to go for the move, but he had a bit of a look to spot his breaking point. Couldn't quite commit fully though, as Pals, again, someone who was leading the race at the start of this race, got tagged by MX in a fight with Sumo and sent him round, but he's managed to recover to P7. JM on the back of Aces, the highest fight, and probably one of the most important fights, because Aces and Alpine are going for that Constructors and the Drivers' Championship. Aces, one of the quickest drivers, one of the most consistent drivers on the grid. Had a really impressive pre-season. That's JM in the Ferrari going round, MX onto the podium, Ghost into P4. They're all going to be jumping. He's going to lose a buck ton of places. JM, a very quick driver, maybe consistency not particularly his strong suit, and well, that is a shame. He comes into the pit lane. 31.8 for Corey as he sets the fastest lap. So Ghost now within DRS, definitely been the quicker of the two, and he's chasing after that podium. Could even go on and maybe to get one better. 2.3 seconds between MX and Aces, and well, those medium tyres going to help a lot in bringing that gap back down. It's a shame for JM though. He was driving a great race up until that point. So too with a lot of people. I think Taylor Hammers also got collected, and a lot of people are being collected in incidents, and it's really been costly for them. In such a tight championship, you can't afford. 30.1 for Vardy. He sets the fastest lap of this race as Ghost gets a bit squirmy off the chicane. That could leave him vulnerable. Davila's got an insane run, but Ghost luckily managed to save that one. Did not want a second spin off the exit of that chicane at all. Categorically no. Because, well, yeah, one spin is bad enough, but you need to learn from your mistakes. The other Red Bull of Zuba, though, well inside the top 10, looking to make it one better. He's definitely quick, and breathing down the back of Jackalacco's neck, the Scotsman hanging on just about, and trying to hang on to Palf's DRS in front. Goes very much on the back of MX. very much on the back of his DRS, as MX has used up a ton of DRS, as he always does. Just under half battery for Ghost, as he's going to look to deploy that to get through. And when the blinking red light, the rain light of MX comes on, that is when Ghost knows he can push the button and absolutely blitz past himself onto the podium. I think we can see it now. MX is having to regenerate, recover energy, and harvest some of that energy, that electrical energy to use down the straight, whereas Ghost and even Davila have got a little bit more in the tank to use compared to him. So down this Mulsanne straight, he's well within the DRS. He's going to slingshot past and use that momentum to try and get onto the back of Aces, maybe even Corey, as MX goes very wide. Might have even disconnected. No, he hasn't, in fact, as he goes to the right hand side. DRS enabled for Ghost. He's using his DRS. He's closing, pulls to the left hand side very cleanly. He's going to get ahead before the corner, well ahead before the corner, takes the racing line, and into P3 goes Ghost. A very, very nice move indeed. And now it's Davila's turn to have a slice of the cake if he can. Ghost now just needs to get his head down and get moving. 2 seconds the gap between him and P2, lap 20 off 27, 6.5 laps left of this race. I should say 7.5 laps, I think it is, yeah. Indeed it is. Let's go make their way through. Turn at number 11 and towards 12. Get it turned in very nicely for Ghost. There's Davila 2 also on the back of MX, who is trying to harvest a bit of ERS, but again can't quite. Ghost putting a nice little indent into Ace's lead. 1.7 now is the gap. He's closed about 0.3 of a second. All he needs to do is get within 1 second, and that's 1 foot in the door, in catching that second place man. Just needs a little bit more, and MX not to squabble with him too much, not to be too aggressive and send one down the inside, or Davila to close up and go for a move or what have you. They just need to work together for the greater good, to work together. 2 of them could get a podium here today, not just one of them. So if they think the long run and they think to work together, they can definitely catch. 1.9 seconds is the gap, 1.8 as they go through turn 6, and a very wide line for MX as he goes through turn 7. That could leave him vulnerable, in fact, from Davila, who is going to have the DRS. Not a lot in the way of ERS, but he is closing on MX slightly. I don't think is enough, in fact, to go for the move in towards the chicane. He has to sit behind for one more nap, and of course that penalty is going to set him back a little bit. 1.5 seconds is the gap between Ghost and Aces. It is coming down slowly but surely. I think Corey is a little bit out of reach, but who knows, anything can happen if those hard tyres go off. If those medium tyres suddenly have a second wind and Ghost finds a bit more grip on them and finds a bit more pace, well, who knows, because well, if anyone can do it, then Ghost definitely can be the one to do it. Towards turn 12, getting it turned in from Davila very nicely, so just needs that good run and be quick where it counts, which is down the straights and off exits of corners. Through the long penultimate corner, you really strain those outside right tyres, as it Pavs is well and truly onto the back of this fight. Also well within DRS range. Jackalaco not too far off either. We've lost 3 drivers from this race, Emiliano, Max and Gamer. Through turn 1 and 2, Ghost leads this little 3, maybe even 4 car train towards turn 3. 1.2 seconds is the gap between Ghost and Aces. Only needs a couple of attempts to have 1 foot in the door. Can he gain it through these couple of corners? Don't think he's quite going to be close enough, but a mistake from Aces definitely could shift it in towards favouring Ghost. 1.2, definitely going to be eyeing up a move maybe in the next couple of laps or so. 1.1, and Ghost is absolutely pushing. He's not caring about MX behind. MX can close for all he cares. Ghost looking at his mirrors maybe a little bit, but MX not closing enough, and I think it would be pretty stupid and not in the best interest for MX to go for that move in towards the chicane, but they're all working nicely together, nicely in unison. Ghost within 1 second of Aces now, whose pace has sort of dropped off a little bit. There's yellow flags to the middle sector. I think that's Palf's gone round. Indeed it is. Palf's has had a bit of a spin off the exit of the chicane. He's gone in towards the runoff area and down to P12. That is a shame for sure. He was driving very well, but unfortunately pushing a little bit too hard perhaps. Just unable to capitalise off the battles, but goes well and truly onto the back of Aces, really putting that pressure on, piling tons and tons of pressure on. They're only 2 seconds off Koru, so not impossible for Ghost to win this race, not at all impossible for Ghost to win this race, but he's got to work for it. He's got to get his head down, he's got to clear Aces as quickly as possible. Davila needs to get past MX and get himself on to the top 4 as quickly as he can. Also, if he wants any chance of getting himself onto the podium, he needs to get his head down and do it now. Ghost, though, he's put a nice bit of pressure on Aces, who's not saved up a huge amount of VRS to use, so it might be a similar story to MX where Ghost just blitzes past. Coming through turn 6 in towards 7. Sumo, a 3-second time penalty. He's down in P13. That won't affect him too much. This is Ghost on the back of Aces. Closing. But is it closing enough? I don't think so. I think he's going to wait, bide his time, and instead of wasting his ERS, he's just going to think better of it in towards the chicane. He's going to file in right behind Aces. Maybe even go for the move down towards the fast right-hander. Indeed he is. He's pressed the button for his ERS. He's closing. Again, not closing enough. Aces having to harvest ERS, having to conserve energy. And Ghost now piling an insane amount of pressure on. He's going to go for the move to the right hand side in towards turn 12. Sends it up the inside, does the Red Bull. The Alpine around the outside on those hard tyres. Still side by side. Aces still on the outside. It'll be the inside for the next left-hander. And the Red Bull unfortunately having to back out of that one. But he goes in deep. He's got an insane switcheroo. The Red Bull gets the drive off the corner around the outside. The inside for the penultimate corner. Gets it done. Aces tries around the outside. It's the inside for the final corner. But thinks better. Backs out of it. Ghost into second. Aces down to third, and that is definitely proof of why it takes two to tango. Mutual respect between the two, and a nice bit of battling, of course, but Aces can always come back at him. Ghost used up maybe a little bit too much ERS in that squabble. Now 3.1 seconds back on Corey as we enter the closing stages, the very much closing stages of this race, as Aces is under an insane amount of pressure from MX and Davila behind. But he can also put that pressure forward. It's a nice 4-car train, could be 5-car. Paus not had a bit of a bottle moment. Zuba putting that pressure on for P6. He's definitely got the pace to do so. He's got the ERS maybe to also put a bit of pressure on. MX though, closing on Aces. He's using what little ERS he's got left in the battery, using that DRS, using that slipstream. Aces goes defensive. This is MX to the right hand side, in towards the chicane. Is he going to go all the way around the outside? The Alpine claims the corner. MX tries to stick his nose in, but the Alpine, Aces, was having absolutely none of that, as they're now bumper to bumper down towards the fast right hander, the complete flat out right hander, the Aston Martin of Davila, looking to the left hand side. MX looking around the outside. He defends that very well, this Aces. Is he going to go for the switcheroo? He's going to have to defend. This is all allowing Ghost to get the gap in front, and Davila just can't quite find a way through. But he's going to look to the left hand side, maybe send it up the inside. Looked, definitely didn't go for that one though. Ghost 3.1 off the race lead, but definitely clear of these three, as he's 1 second clear of Aces. As MX having to defend from Davila, also thinking forwards but also backwards. Do not want to get overtaken while you're trying to do the overtaking. We all have DRS open, having a bit of a fight maybe back further down between Tier, Scott, Womax, the Ferrari Alpine, AlphaTauri and Aston Martin. Could be quite spicy. We're going to jump to the battle for P6 because Suba gets a very nice move. Gets himself ahead, but he goes a little bit too wide, so Jackalacos in fact going to come back at him. It'll be the inside for turn 3. Is he going to stick his nose in there? I don't think he is. Zuba gets himself ahead. The Williams of Ben Finch though, he's managed to drive like an absolute champion. He's brought himself from the back of the grid up into P8 and could be P6 contention. He's got a bit of a penalty, but that shouldn't matter too much. He's definitely well within the top 10, and he's got the pace to maybe extend that penalty gap and stay inside the top 10 a bit more securely. Pressure on now. Scott also on the back of Womax. He's using his DRS. He's using his ERS. The Alpine on the Ferrari to the left hand side to get himself one place high into the top 9. Down the inside under brakes. Gets it done. Jobs are good. He gets himself a 3-second time penalty though for his troubles. That's not what he would have wanted at all, as the fight at the front, 2.7 between Ghost and Koru, and the gap between Aces and Ghost has now shrunk down to just 0.6. Zuba going a little bit too deep in towards turn 12, and that might have opened the door for Jackalacco. There's a bit of a spin. That's Koru round from the race lead. Ghost inherits the race lead. The race leader of Koru, or the former race leader of Koru, down to P5 with 3 laps to go. Nearly the penultimate lap. 2 laps to go in this race. Ghost inherits the race lead. Aces P2, MX P3, and Davila just a couple of seconds back. 1 second between Koru and Davila. He might inherit P4 again. But oh my word, has this really now spiced things up. Koru just 2 laps from the end. He had one hand on the trophy. He was driving so immaculately well, couldn't put a foot wrong until that one corner messed up slightly. Something went wrong. Yellow flags, and we saw the spin, and it was heartbreak for the Haas fans, for the Koru fans. because that is one of the biggest bottles I have ever seen. Ghost comfortably leads the way with a lap and a half left to go. Ace is trying his best to close that gap. He is still within DRS range and has got that toe hook, but Ghost is doing enough on those medium compound tyres just to stay ahead. Ben Finch, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. In fact, let's check up on how many penalties he has got. It's now totaled at 2-6. So will not lose a position, but also not gain a position from Zuber in front. So Jackalacco will re-inherit P6, provided he doesn't spin like Corey. But Corey got his face on the back of Davila, who seems to be struggling on those tyres as we go onto the final lap of this race. MX trying his best to put a little bit of pressure on Ace's shoulders and make him maybe go into a mistake as you go into the final lap. He goes in a little bit too deep to the final corner, so MX is going to use what little ERS he's got left in the battery, use that slipstream, use that DRS. Aces goes in towards the middle of the track. MX going to the left hand side, in towards the inside of turn 1, backs out of it though, thinks the long game, wants that DRS down the Mulsanne straight towards the chicane, and is going to back out of it. And just wait, right as time, no rush at all. Well, it is the final lap, you do want to kind of get a shifty on and try and get your way forwards, but when it's the podium, can't be taking chances at all. Ghost still leads, Ace is P2. He's got MX right behind him though. The final lap of this race, the final time down this DRS straight. Can MX go for the move? Ace is looking all in his mirrors. I don't think MX is closing enough to go for the move. Aces didn't quite get the DRS from Ghost in front. He goes in a bit too deep for the chicane. MX gets an incredible run through, might even get the drive off the exit in order to close that gap once more. Ace is in fact closing on Ghost. If there's a couple more laps, this could be a very spicy end to this race, because those halves would really come into their own once again. Vardy, a 29.555. He resets the fastest lap of this race, as I think Ghost might just about hang on to this one. Corey will re-inherit P4, but it definitely could have been the win. Jackalacco looking up the inside of Zuber, who goes a little bit wide in towards turn 12. Again, can't quite get the move done. But through the final corner, Ghost, he got the lead off of lap 1, pitted on lap 1, has fought back all the way through this race, has had a spin, but Corey spun with 2 laps to go. Ghost crosses the line, he wins in France. Round number 4, Aces comes home in 2nd, MX 3rd, with Corey 4th, Davila 5th, Jackalacco, Zuber and Ben Finch nearly photo finish across the line. Jackalacco 6th, Zuber 7th, with Ben Finch 8th, and here comes Scott across the line, P9. Womax will re-inherit that with penalties. APP11 could have been a lot more with tier P12. Sumo P13, he's going to call his way home. Rick though only about a second behind as they go through the final corner for the final time and crossing the line. What a race this has been. Definitely been treated. And I couldn't have asked for a better race here in the Castellet. Ghost, very happy man. He is well, fought hard for that one, and a very well-deserved victory. Taylor Hammers and Varley will come home P16 and 17 with 3 DNFs of Emiliano, Max and yeah, Gamer. Both Mercedes unfortunately DNFing from this race. But Max, yeah, a shame for him, but for Ghost, could not have asked for a better race at all. That was an incredible move to get the lead off of lap 1, and just managed to drive well and hold it, drive consistently for the most part. We won't talk about the spin, but yeah, when you win the race, you don't really mind. Zuber takes driver of the day, well deserved in fact, from near the back of the grid up into well and decent points. As the top 3, the Red Bull, the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo, all join themselves on the podium. The Alpine getting that podium in their home country, definitely not a bad result whatsoever, as they spray champagne and enjoy the podium. Well, after 27 hard-fought laps, it is Ghost that takes the win of the race, with Aces in P2, MX rounding off the podium in P3. The pole sitter going a little bit backwards off the race start and lost that rhythm, but still managed to fight back for P3. Corey P4 with Davila rounding off the top 5. Jackalacco P6, Zuber P7 with Ben Finch P8. Womax and Scott rounding off in 9th and 10th with APP 11 tier. P12, Sumo P13, Rick 14th with JMP 15. Taylor P16, Vardy in P17 with Emiliano, Max and yeah, Gamer rounding off the grid in So 18th, 19th and 20th, they were the DNFs. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that definitely was a fantastic race from start to finish, and start, middle and end all had a drama. That safety car, that start, that finish, definitely was a Le Castellet to remember. Well, we're going to take a week break, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for round number 5. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. I will be in the commentary box. I've been Zach Sweeney. This has been APPF1, and thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.